Hey boys and girls, Mrs. Cola here. As your teachers probably have told you by now, we're going to be hosting a science fair here at Sheridan Elementary School for you fourth grade students. So, with that in mind, I wanted to kind of take you through what I did as a fourth grader when I was your age at St. Martin of Tours School. That was the first time I did a science fair. It was a really good experience, a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoy it as well. The title of my project at the time was called The Jawbreakers of the Popcorn Industry. That went along with the problem that I ran into a lot at home. A real world problem was what brand of popcorn yields the least amount of unpopped kernels. Because when you're eating popcorn, you really want as many popped kernels as you can possibly eat. When you're getting the unpopped kernels, you could break your teeth, hurt your jaws, and so on, which leads to, of course, the title, The Jawbreakers of the Popcorn Industry. Okay? In order to test out this problem, which brand does yield the least amount of unpopped kernels, I first had to come up with what brands I would be testing. Okay, so I picked a lot of the more popular brands that you see at the supermarket, and one that wasn't quite as popular. So I'm going to show you those brands below. Okay, we have Jolly Time, Orville Redenbacher, Act 2, Pop Secret, and a least little known brand called Aldi Corntown Popcorn. Okay? So which one of these would I buy in the future to make sure that I'm getting the most for my money? Well, after I bought those brands, before I actually tested them, I had to come up with a hypothesis to decide to predict which brand would have the least amount of unpopped kernels. My hypothesis is that Orville Redenbacher's popcorn will be the best in terms of unpopped kernels because it's expensive, gourmet popcorn, and that Aldi's Corntown brand will be the worst in unpopped kernel amount because it is low priced and unknown. My thinking behind this was, if I'm paying so much for the Orville Redenbacher, I'm hoping that it's giving me the most bang for my buck, the most popcorn that I can eat. If I'm paying, just a couple dollars for the Corntown Aldi, I probably won't get as much out of it. So this is my prediction. I'm going to use the actual experiment to see if my prediction is correct. Now, before I do that, I do a little bit of research and I do a little research report giving me some background information about the history of popcorn and so on. And that report is organized into a 2-page written report giving some background information. Okay? My next step in the science fair project is to then tell what materials I will be using for my experiment. 3 bags of Aldi popcorn, 3 bags of Act 2, 3 bags of Orville Redenbacher, 3 bags of Jolly Time, 3 bags of Pop Secret, a microwave, and a bowl. And I made a little note that each brand will be butter flavor so that the results don't change according to flavor. So for example, if I decide to do butter popcorn for Aldi brand versus unbuttered for Act 2, it might change the amount of kernels that actually pop, and I don't really want that to happen. I want it to keep it consistent, okay? So then I write down all the procedures I used in doing the actual experiment. I popped the popcorn in the microwave for 2 minutes and 15 seconds, the recommended time for popping popcorn. I then counted the unpopped kernels, and I recorded the results in the data table. I then repeated steps 1 to 3 2 more times for a total of 3 trials for each, or for all 5 brands of popcorn. I noticed that I spelled trials wrong here. It's actually I before the A. So proofread your work before you hand it in. Once all my results were in the data table, I averaged 3 trials for each brand of popcorn. Okay? And the data table, as you can see, is up here. It looks like this. I have over here the kind of popcorns I used. I tested each kind 3 times. So for example, Jolly Time had 28, 19, and 52 on the 3rd time. I then averaged all of the unpopped kernels together over those 3 times. So that means I took 28 plus 19 plus 52 and then divided by 3 to get 33. Okay? And I did the same for each brand. So after I recorded the results in the data table, I wanted a picture so that it'd be easy for somebody walking by to see which brand yielded the least amount of unpopped kernels and which brand yielded the most. So let me try to get you a good view of that by backing up a little bit here. Okay, as you can see, the Corntown did yield the most amount of unpopped kernels, just as I had predicted. However, Orville Redenbacher did not yield the least amount of unpopped popcorn. It was actually Act 2 that yielded the least amount. So you don't always get more for the money you spend, okay? Act 2 had the most amount of popcorn that I could actually eat because it yielded the least amount of unpopped kernels, okay? So judging from that table and graph, I wrote down the results in a reader-friendly way. It says, as you can see in the graph and data table below, the best popcorn in terms of unpopped kernels was Act 2, with Jolly Time as a close second, followed by Orville Redenbacher, Pop Secret, and the no-name brand Aldi's Corntown Popcorn coming in last place. Okay? So these are the results of my experiment. I then wanted to tell the conclusion, which included a little breakdown of what my hypothesis was versus the results. I thought the best popcorn with the least amount of kernels would be Orville Redenbacher, but my hypothesis was incorrect. The best popping popcorn is shown to be Act 2. I then recorded some additional observations. These additional observations are basically a summary of, what else I observed. So for example, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but one thing I noticed was that Jolly Time, the numbers in Jolly Time were pretty inconsistent, 28, 19, and a whopping 52. So that really kind of that 52 really threw off the average there, okay? And then finally at the bottom, I included what's called a bibliography, or references, all of the websites and books I used to help me with my research report. Okay, so that's the basic gist of what a science fair project should look like and what it's going to look like when you guys hand in yours. Okay, your teachers will break it down for you step by step how to go through the science fair project with your group, but it should be a really good learning experience for you guys, and I really hope you enjoy it. When it's all said and done, we will invite some of your parents to come see it and some of the other students in the school. Thanks a lot for your time.